gravity will make a big ball or make a big mass become a ball, and that ball will have fluid flowing underneath it and acting as though it was, you know what I mean, like just on top, then that's theoretical, and we can't prove that for ourselves. So we know that the physics of water is that when it settles, it will come to a perfect level, like a mirror.
Yeah.
But if we break the seal or we break the containment, that water will then flow to the next lowest point it can find where it will pool. And that water will pool again level and horizontal with all other bodies of water in that space or wherever we can go.
Yeah, okay.
That's what we know is the physics of water. So on that basis, I say the onus comes onto the globe to say, show us how you can make water bend around a shape. Don't do it by maths, don't do it by cartoons, but do it with a physical model that we can then test.
I would answer gravity, but I just read that you don't think that gravity exists.
Well, we know that things go up and down. Yeah. So if I lift an apple up, as the tree does, and then it falls back down, that's a natural law of up and down, and that things that have a greater density than the surrounding atmosphere or environment will fall till they get to a settling point. And things that are counter to that, like a helium balloon, will rise, or a ball pushed underwater, it will rise to reach its right buoyancy within its density. Right. So that's what we understand how things go up and down. On a flat world, that's pretty much all you need. There is some perhaps electrostatic forces in play, but these are minuscule forces and they don't really have much bearing on us. For a bee that can create a vibration that makes it float, maybe that's important. But for us, we don't really encounter these much in our day-to-day. We think this is part of some ether electromagnetic soup that Nikola Tesla believed in, but that was all pushed away by Einstein and the idea of taking away cheap or free energy for us.
Just to question what you are doing right now. So you told me about like a government plot or something like this. Sorry for my terms. Maybe
that's all right.
Why don't you try to go in a scientific démarche, like write
a debate?
A physics? No, sorry for my English.
So
write a thesis and submit it to the world scientific community and see what is going on. As they are not manipulated by governments.
Okay. Unfortunately, it turns out
you can question the science. Science is made to be questioned. Unlike religion, you cannot question religion. But you can question science. This is the purpose of science. Science is saying, I think that it's true, but if you have another argument, please tell it, and we are going to evolve the knowledge.
You have all these arguments?
Yeah, and I think what's important to recognize is that if the Earth truly, the shape of the Earth has been misled, or they've completely covered up the truth about who we are, then they own and control all higher education. They own and control all institutions of medicine, of science, you name it. These things in England, they're called the Royal Society for this or that. So if it's the royals and the popes and the religions that have tried to control us, then their associations or societies are absolutely part of that same control network.
If you read the story, you can read that the church, Catholic Church, tried to imprison Galileo and Copernicus and scientists were the target of religions. So.
What if you were my brother and I asked you to go around town and cause a whole lot of problems so that my business as a security company would do better?
Okay.
But then people found out that you had been doing this. I would say to them, I put him in jail. I told him he was a bad boy. It's like, they've created the possibility that they can create a story that you and I all got taught. So why did they give every child on earth that same story of how these things came to be? When it might be the case that if you look at the modern science, Big Bang Theory is a Catholic priest, George Lemaitre, who gives us that, a Catholic priest. The Vatican is the biggest.
Genetics were invented by a monk.
Also. So
it's true. You can save people and save lives through genetics.
Well, I mean, it could be, or it could be that it's one of those other clever things that they use to try and make us believe that we come from monkeys. That the reason we're here is some sort of evolutionary story. Because as a child, I used to say to my priest, one, the Earth is flat, and two, we are not come from monkeys. Why is the science dissonant with all of that? But today, the science, I think, is being pushed by the Vatican. They're happy that people are being taught that they're insignificant, which is what evolution does to us. All of that stuff.
On this point, I can answer because I work with scientists in archaeology, and I've seen the bones, proving the evolution. I mean, for example, the horses, they have one finger nowadays, but I've seen the different stages of evolution. I've seen it on the table.
Okay.
The former horses, they had 4 fingers and one behind.
Okay.
And then it began to weld.
Fuse.
To become only one on several thousands of years.
Okay.
And it's a fact. So evolution. So it's older than the creation of the creationists 6,000 years ago, I believe. It's older.
Yes.
And it proves the evolution. So
yes.
That's physical proofs.
Okay. I accept anyway, that the buildings that we have on Earth, like the pyramids and Göbekli Tepe, are tens of thousands of years old, maybe even older than that. So I don't propone this like short-term thing. But if we've got evolution going on, then the species that sort of we come from, that monkey, we should see examples of that halfway point. Where even today there should be half man, sort of half monkey, still going through that evolution. Not such a clean cut and say, you got these differences that are absolutely light and day different. So for me now, I say to people that the evolution stuff, and even though they've got bones, the first dinosaurs were imagined from a single tooth. They found a tooth that they couldn't identify, and they come up with in the 1820s, but we've never found a full dinosaur skeleton. Never. They try and tell us that we have, but I think as a matter of fact...
if you go to museums, you'll see some
the museums. The museums. They admit to using like plaster Paris, or they have them made in China and stuff like that. I used to believe in the dinosaur story, but I have to say, and I know it's hard to kind of unpick this one straight away, but just go away with knowing that there's people saying that the whole dinosaur story has been given to us as part of the evolution hoax, and that the idea that oil is fossil fuel and it comes from these dead dinosaurs and fish like that, it doesn't add up anymore. It seems much more likely that the oil is abiotic, and that there are no asteroids that are going to come in from outer space and wipe us out like the dinosaurs 65 million year ago story. That is all designed as fear porn, as a way of saying there's something greater than you, something to be fearful of. You need the government to protect you. You need a big brother to protect you. That's all part of that. And not only that, the evolution story is about diminishing us to say that once upon a time, if you wind the clock back long enough, we were monkeys and then fish and then slime in the mud. And that's what they want you to think, is that you come from that, rather than you were created perfectly, intentionally from the beginning.
It's not from nothing. I also worked on human bones from Neanderthal. So this is another species, not like us, another kind of Homo Neanderthal.
Okay.
And there are differences. It's a real skull. I've seen some real skull because we are doing some 3D measurement on it. You cannot say it's fake, it's from China, it's impossible.
Yeah, sure. I accept that. And I'd go so far as to say I agree. I think that there was some kind of pre-modern human, there was some kind of human or some kind of thing. But I think that's like... that perhaps humans as we see them today were not around 6,000 years ago. They got wiped out. These bigger beings that we call Neanderthals were from a previous epoch, from a previous time. And since then we got like some kind of flood, like a Noah's flood that happened to the earth. And it covered up the buildings such that you lose the bottom floor, often 2 floors of these big old cities. They've lost into the mud, and they've got these big basements, but they were never dug as basements. They were the original first floor, ground floor, first floor, but they're now underneath the street level. So we think that humans were bigger, because if you look at these beautiful buildings here, they were made by bigger people with technology that we don't have today. They're magnificent, and these are meant to be hundreds and hundreds of years old. So these people were bigger, they built to a bigger specification, they were maybe smarter than us, but for whatever reasons, through darkness or whatever, they got wiped out. That may have happened a few times over the course of all of human history. And we're just in one of those cycles that we think is possibly, coming to I say maybe we're coming out of a winter and we're going into a spring. and we're going into a much more beautiful time or a higher vibration, but we need to learn that we're in the darkness. And until we come out of that darkness, perhaps we will drag that winter on, and it'll be a longer winter instead of the world turning, warmer and brighter sooner. That's why I think it's important.
Okay. So that's it's a wide reflection that you have. No, I just can't. What troubles me that you are questioning science, which is good. Science is made for it, but you are not doing it. I think you're not doing it in a scientific way. I mean, just saying no, it's not like that. There was a flood, there was other species, but you don't have more proofs. You don't prove this. You say it was like this, this happened, but you don't prove your point.
Okay.
And that's what troubles me, because I'm okay to question science, because it's the best way to make it evolve.
Better.
Yeah. But you have to do it in a proper way, not just saying this happened. And,
well, it's worth saying that we've done a lot of scientific experiments, but what we've done mostly is we've lost our incredulity. We're no longer credulous by the system who says, trust us that if it was big enough, universe, galaxies, all this sort of stuff, right? Now we're saying, let's trust what we can test for ourselves, not be believing in this theoretical science, because a lot of our worldview is based on theoretical science. So if we can show that water is level over any measurable distance, and none of the curvature that they promise us is meant to be there can be measured, if we can say that if this Earth was spinning, we'd expect the atmosphere to be moving and be noticeably moving with respect to some of the forces associated with that spinning. We'd also expect, with the second law of thermodynamics, for there to be a barrier or a containment for this pressure system that we live in. But none of these things are there, and they don't match up with our physical experience of the world. So we're meant to suspend that physical belief and give it over to theoretical science. And that's the science that I'm not willing to accept any of anymore, because I now know that this theoretical science has obviously been used as a tool of deception, so why should I accept any of it? So for me, it's about what can I test for myself. Yes, I know there's older bones, there's bigger bones, and there's bones that belong to creatures that we don't have on the Earth today. I'd accept that. I accept that people possibly were much bigger before too. I'd accept those things based on some of the evidence, but that doesn't mean I'm going to say, there were these dinosaur creatures that were given to us by Darwin, just 150 years ago. Before then, no one in recorded history spoke of dinosaurs. There might have been creatures, perhaps like even dragons of some sort. I don't know, but there were other creatures here. But the dinosaur story is part of the hoax designed to kind of rob us of the truth of this place. So it's about knocking out the theoretical stuff. It's about knocking out the theoretical stuff and saying, shit, if these things can't be proven, then why should I simply accept them like a religion? Why should I just simply believe them because my masters have told me that this is the possibility? I used to believe, I was hoping for them to find life on Mars. Praying they'd find life on Mars, and to prove my atheism right. But now I know that all of that has been designed for the specific purpose of making me a weak religious person or a weak atheist, which is really what it does to the mind, is to kind of to diminish the spark, the potentiality of what you are and who you are. That's why it matters. But the science, there's some fantastic fucking scientists in the flat earth movement who are doing brilliant high-level, doctorate-level kind of experiments. One on moonlight, on a water level, on the moving of the environment around us. We can show that we can see the ether turning and that there's things moving. George Airy's experiment called Airy's failure. He was the astronomer royal back in the middle 1800s. He did an experiment, buried. Why? Because it proves that the stars are moving and not the Earth. Parallax demands that as you move two objects from a third object, there's going to be a shifting of those two positions, and immediately within years, if these things are millions of light years away and traveling at millions of light years per day or millions of miles per day, you should see the parallax of these stars. They should be twisting out of alignment with each other and no longer hold exactly the same constellation positions that they had for thousands of recorded years. So when you start to unpick the stories we've been given, it's like, no, I don't take that stuff at face value anymore. And I now experience the sun and moon as being very close to me, local to me, personal to me, perhaps, even that this might be my universe and yours equally, with your own energy sources and your own way of interpreting the lights that are there. We've had that all hidden from us, but actually we think that the signs are coming. The Vatican spends more money than anyone else on telescopes because they're watching the stars to see when certain alignments of these things happen, then moments occur where they can exploit or whatever the human psyche or the human energy system. That's what I think and why I think it matters. Some people say 2012, 2020, I don't know. But your life story is one of either sort of trying your best to find the truth in a mire of bullshit and theory and supposition, or setting all of that aside and going within and saying, let me hear and feel and resonate with this information and use it to take me to another level. Flat Earth is just the baseline. That's just the beginning of the story. The rest comes after that. First you've got to realize, yeah, it is. And for 2 years it consumed my life, the Flat Earth.
And the civilizations, we have all the maps. They also. All of them. Yeah. Just the flat Earth maps.
Yeah.
Okay. So I strongly disagree with
That's
you.
all right, my brother.
But it's okay. It's a pleasure to discuss on this.
Yeah.
I think that you should try to have a more academic way to express your ideas.
Okay.
I think so.
We should try.
Question science in scientific ways.
Science,
okay. Well, I mean. But in that pack of information you got there, there's a website called FE Go there. There's a bunch of resources where you will see all the science arguments being made and all the experiments that are being done. And then also there's the evidence that they tried to hide from us. Michelson, Morley, all the big scientists of the day, the French and British scientists were doing the interferometer experiment. For 30 years they tried to prove that the Earth was spinning, and they failed. So they buried that, and they also got rid of the ether and then came up with general relativity, as far as my studies tell me. And so this has all been an obfuscation, a hiding of the truth about who we are, and they've overlaid this kind of version of reality, which we've all taken on as a belief system. So I only offer that to you because I think it's, in time maybe you'll go, okay, there's enough here for me to get my teeth into. If you need the science, if you need the left brain stuff, there's plenty of really good guys doing fantastic science.
Sure, science is not absolute.
It's interesting to see as a
people who are absolutely sincere human beings, just wanting the best for humanity, getting no financial reward really for it at all, but actually the reward of helping other people to find their own true path. Awesome, brother. Well, it's great to talk to you.
See you, sir.
All the best.
Thanks.
Thank you to listen.
All the best.
Bye.
I'm joined here with Jack.
All right.
Thanks, Ben. All right, buddy.
All right.
You've had a good session here in Bordeaux. How are we doing for time?
It will be to close up. It will be 5 hours. So.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. But I mean, in terms of the clock, what's the time of the day now? Remember the parking.
6:30.
6:30.
Yeah.
Our parking was till just after
to 7. Yeah. So.
20 to 7.
20 to 7.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. Yeah, it's time. We run out of flyers. We
run out of flyers, and we've done some good streaming. Yeah, we'll shut it down soon.
Hello.
I want
We're gonna close the deal.
I want to. Yeah.
We're good with today. Was it a good day?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, good flyer day, and
bad today.
a bit of a language barrier.
French people.
How's your French, Jack? Have you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just bonjour.
Bonjour, oui, oui, and
de rien.
Yes.
De rien.
Yeah, good one.
De rien.
I never know what to say when they say merci and you go.
Yeah, I was struggling today and I go to the guy in the restaurant and I ask him, please tell me how you tell in French. You're welcome. De rien.
no. Oui, oui.
And then you're scared. De rien. Yes.
It's a very French word, isn't it?
So yeah, we're gonna close the deal, guys.
Yeah,
later
we're
in
going to
the
close
update
up at Bordeaux. Yeah, and we'll see you a
Very
bit later.
soon.
Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. Some good conversations today. I hope the chat rooms had fun. We are always grateful for all the support that people are giving us, and be mindful that every day on the road is quite pricey. So I know that Jason's accountant would be keen to see us bring some small donations to the bus. Someone sent me a message yesterday about sending something to PayPal. I had to ask him to go to the globeli.co.uk website for the link for PayPal. Thanks for that. And thanks to you for stopping by. Make sure you've given us the thumbs up. It shouldn't hurt you. And if you don't like this truth, then thumbs it down. I do wish you well. This is, it's incredible being in these amazing cities and having very little time to stop and admire the place that we're at. So this is like a downtown Bordeux scene, and it's pretty busy still. It's 6:30 and the streets are fairly thronging. How cool would it be to have a French team of flattery out here, just doing it from a French point of view? I think it would have a lot of weight, because I lose something in translation. Although we've had some fantastic conversations, I think the majority of people here will not get it. Perhaps even someone suggested that if we were super developed, we would have these perhaps printed into local languages that we were on tour to, and even local printing of flyers, But hey ho, I'll cut the stream and I bid you farewell. See you in the live later on.